Hello, it's Midweek Extra. It is John Gibbons. We are in association with Green King and Green King Sports. Huge thanks to them for partnering with Midweek Extra for the season. I'm John Gibbons. Did I say that? Probably, but I definitely haven't introduced my lovely table. I've got Grace Bailey, I've got Dan Austin, and I've got Josh Williams here. And we're going to talk in part one about Liverpool v Bologna. And then in part two, I've got an insert. It's Paul Cuttle from Stadium Operations at Liverpool talking about the fantastic array of summer concerts that we've got going on. And then in part three, we'll reflect on the Champions League so far, generally, and then a look ahead to the game against Crystal Palace on Saturday. But before all that, I do want to give a shout out properly to Green King Sport. If you download the Green King Sport app, you get 10% off at all Green King establishments when there's sport on the telly. I mean, there's a lot of sport on this weekend. So the Sunderland Leeds, which will be a good game on Friday night. I think Sunderland are the top. I think Leeds are still favourites to go up, so that should be a good game. And then Saturday, you've obviously got us and Palace. 5:30 is Everton v Newcastle, which should be good. And then Saturday night, Nick Ball is fighting on TNT Sports. Best of luck to Nick. Scouser, also sponsored by the Glenbook, which I'm into. I like that. Basically, the Glenbook's partners a world champion boxer than us. They're the people that they deal with. They only go at the top. But no, Nick's meant to be a top lad, and he's doing it incredible. So good luck to him. And yeah, as I say, fighting on TNT Sports, and that's one of the many things you can watch over the weekend at a Green King venue, and you will get 10% off whenever there is sport on the telly. So download the Green King Sports app and check them out on Instagram as well. I've been doing previews. I can't remember whether they got on Atalanta Bologna. Definitely didn't get the game right if I said that, but did I say 2-0? I think I might have. So there we are. Have a little look and see if I was right. But anyway, Liverpool 2, Bologna 0. Sensible scoreline, Reds. They seem to be this season, Dan. Not conceding many goals, winning games of football, if not entirely comfortably, then certainly comfortably by the end. And yeah, they're going well in all comps.
They are, and the European ones are against two teams that finished in the top four in Italy last season. It's not like they've played some of the really weaker sides that are in the competition, so I think they're an impressive set of results. The one of only 7 teams, I think it was, in the end that have won both of their opening games. Teams like Milan have got 0 points after 2. Don't think it would have been a disaster given the nature of the new format if Liverpool hadn't have won yesterday. But the more you can build up points in the format now, it just makes it easier when you get to the end, when I think the tension really does come in. They started really, really well, kind of set a really strong tone, rode through bits that were more difficult, and I think a fair bit of that was kind of their own doing.
Yeah.
But if you're able to play well in patches of games against sides that you're better than, that's by and large enough to win, so that's fine.
Yeah, they did enough to win the game, didn't they? The Grayson, that's the thing. And like Dan says, when they did get in a bit of trouble, it looked a bit self-inflicted, and I think that's a little bit sort of, adapting to the way that the manager wants them to build out and things like that. I expect them to iron that out, but generally speaking, they're still scoring goals, even in games where we're not brilliantly creative as we were last night. We're keeping clean sheets and still not giving up great chances, even when we do pass to them. And yeah, it's you can't have mad games every week or every third day as it is now. Routine wins are what get you through seasons in good nick, and we're doing a lot of them. Yeah,
definitely. I think for the last 9 years, every single match day, we've been thriving on emotion, and we've lived and breathed every single second of a game. And I'm actually quite enjoying this season that, although we're all still very invested, my life doesn't depend on one result, which I'm just quite fine with at the minute. At the end of the season, we won't all be saying this, but now I'm quite fine with that. I thought we played well yesterday. I do think Bologna were impressive. I've not watched much of them, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But in that, the second part of the first half, I thought they were well on top, and they seemed to come at us, and we were a bit like, what do we do here? We're not used to this. And they were really compact. They knew what they were doing. They had a fair few chances, and I didn't think everyone for us looked completely on it yesterday, but I think we did enough to get a good result, and Arne Slot loves a 2-0 win, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I didn't do any post-match stuff, so I got back for Match of the Day, which they're doing for the Champions League. And they had a nice panel on. It was Rory Smith was on there, Hitzlberger and Nedum, who just thinks brilliant. And it was a nice mix of intelligence and people who'd actually watched Bologna play in the past, which may catch on, may not, who knows. But, they were talking about them as a team and saying, creatively they're pretty good, but maybe cutting edges where they've sort of struggled, and you could see that against us. I thought, like Grace said, they played really well at times, but when they got up there, some of the shooting was wild, wasn't it? Things like that, and I couldn't figure out whether you when you watch Liverpool think, well, a better team would have punished us, or whether you've just got to say, well, do you know what, they were a decent side and they didn't.
Yeah, they were good. I think initially Slot got a bit of stick, didn't he, for picking basically the same team again, and but I think we saw why. I think Bologna are a decent side, and if you can kind of get the Champions League over and done with as soon as possible, get to a point where you're pretty much safe, it makes a lot of sense. So I think they were a good side. I think Dan's spot on when he says Liverpool started really well and then gradually tailed off a tiny.
It was probably our best 5 minutes since Slot took over.
Yeah. It was what minute did we score as well? It was relatively early.
10, 11, something like that. I think.
Yeah, well, that's pretty early for a Slot team so far based on what we've seen. We've been kind of latter stages of the first half or early in the second half.
Yeah,
it's
only
so far.
really the Diaz goal at home to Brentford, but that was a counter attack and probably our first decent chance. Like, this was sustained pressure, which you've not seen before.
Yeah, but it is definitely a different way of winning, a different way of performing so far. I think we're all getting used to this. Like, the rotation is definitely different compared to previous seasons, and I think last season especially, I think the way in which we were winning was a lot more entertaining, but less sustainable. I feel a lot more comfortable.
That's why we were all riding on the emotion, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like last minute winners and that, you can't do that every week, and you can't keep conceding first every week. This season, it's a lot more like just sound do it again, and it's a bit it's not as Hollywood like, but I do think it's more sustainable. This the way we're winning games this season. It feels like it's going to persist a bit more, but the general consensus, you wouldn't think that. I mean, we'll get to that. That's further in the agenda, isn't it? But I think the general consensus would suggest that people are basically terrified going into these big games that we've got upcoming. But I don't think we should be. I think we're fine.
He's right. Teaser there for later in the show from Josh, who was into. You can tell he's in the podcast game now. We'll talk a little bit about the areas of the pitch first of all. Dan, I'll start with you with a little chat about the forwards. We didn't create loads of chances for them. Salah obviously scores a worldie. Well, maybe not quite a worldie, but it's a great goal, sort of cutting in and things like that. The best chance we create is for McAllister sort of coming in. I felt all three forwards in a way were slightly below what you'd sort of hope from them, but I couldn't figure out whether that was their fault or whether we just, we're really getting them in the ball in good enough positions. What did you think of them as a sort of three?
I thought they all worked really hard.
Yeah.
A lot of graft out of them. Sometimes sitting in the first half, I think when Bologna were playing a little bit better, there were a couple of ones where Salah or Szoboszlai were trying to play like a particular through ball to Núñez, and he hadn't made that run. He'd kind of come short. It felt like they were just a bit on different wavelengths a couple of times, but that happens. And I think also the way that Bologna set up made the game strange to play in as a forward, in that there wasn't much midfield going on really, because they played that 4-1-4-1. There was a set like 5 forwards really when they were out of possession, really high man-to-man press, and Remo Freuler basically just doing midfield on his own. It meant that if you got through them, you were kind of just running at the defence then, and you've got one decision to make, and if it works off, it's a great chance, and if you don't pull it off, then you've probably lost the ball and they're going to come back quite quickly. So that means that there's less build-up really. You're just kind of faced with the decision that you've got to make out wide or down the middle or wherever it is, and that can make it harder, even though in theory you've got a bit more space to play in. I mean, I still thought that all of them looked like dangerous at different points of the match. It just didn't feel, aside from maybe that first 15 minutes or so, like for the rest of it, it was, all three of them were dangerous and combining at the same time. Maybe thought like there were points of the second half where Salah and Szoboszlai was doing quite a bit with him, or he scored the goal because Alexander-Arnold kind of makes a decoy run and takes the defender away, and then he's able to come in. It didn't necessarily feel like it was the three functioning as a unit, but when you talk about attack and play, it's not just the forwards that do it, it's different sides of the pitch, and someone steps forward and does whatever. So I still think if you go back and look at the quality of chances in the game, Bologna have hit the post twice and forced a good save from Alisson, but I don't think I looked at them and thought, my God, they should have scored there.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool created a significantly better quality of chance, even if the quantity wasn't necessarily loads more.
Yeah, and that's what the stats show. I think Salah was a really interesting performance, from him, Grace, because he gets a goal and an assist. But aside from that, there's times where, especially his final ball, was strangely lacking, and I think he's possibly the best final ball player in the league. There's others you can make shouts for, across the league, of course. But if there's a players making runs and a guy on the ball that I'd wanted, sort of Mo Salah. But there was a few times where it felt like he had space, he had time, he could have got someone in and he either underhit it strangely or it was never that he picked the wrong option. It was more of an execution thing, which is unusual for him.
Yeah, it is strange. I heard Alisson talk post-match, and Alisson said sometimes Salah looks like he's not in a game, but then he goes and does something brilliant, which is exactly what we saw from him last night. Like, that goal was, when he hit that, I was just like, wow, what a player. And he scored. He's the first Liverpool player to score in 5 consecutive home Champions League matches. So, Salah does the numbers for us, and he is so impressive. I always say that. But yeah, first half he looked a bit off it to me, and he was trying things that usually would just come off, and as you say, his final ball just didn't seem to be happening, and he tried a few passes that didn't work, and there was a great chance by Trent where Trent ran down the wing and then played to Salah, and Salah could have scored and he could have passed it, and he just didn't do either of them. There was a few of those where you're like, oh, what's up with Mo, is he alright? But then actually I think he scores the goal and everyone's made up with him, so it kind of takes away from everything that hasn't gone well in the first half. But yeah, to start with, I did look at him and think, is he alright? What's going on? Because he was a little bit off the pace, I thought, yesterday.
Sorry, I haven't seen any of the game back, but it was his assist, wasn't it? That was a pristine ball.
It's brilliant.
The goal is obviously great technique and whatever, but I was more impressed by the pass.
Yeah.
And again, it's not, or maybe he was looking for Nunes, but it's certainly not Nunes that he finds. It's a runner from midfield.
There's 3 of them actually at the back.
Yeah.
3 of them.
So again, an example of
he's in the net.
It's not always the obvious man that you're looking for. They can link up in different ways. It was a great run by McAllister, but I think he trapped the ball, looked back up, and then just floated that into the exact right space. Don't think a centre half could really do anything about it realistically. I thought it was a brilliant ball.
Yeah, it's one of them where it does feel like he was off it. I don't think he performed anywhere near his usual level, but you come away from it and he's got a goal, he's got an assist, and you could argue if he's not on the pitch, Liverpool don't win the game. So it's mad. His actual floor is still really high. A bad performance from Salah is still where he's deciding games, whereas a bad performance for, without wanting to throw him under the bus, Gakpo, for example, is anonymous, completely anonymous. Whereas that's just not the case with Salah, and that's why he gets the highest paid player in the squad, because he makes a difference when it comes to results and that. But It's arguably 2 games in a row really where he's been a little bit off it, but still coming away with, I think, 2 goals and an assist now. So, stupid player.
What's he making Nunes?
I thought he was okay. I think there was a lot on the shoulders of the forwards. I think the man marking scheme that Bologna played, I was sat at the very, very back of the Kop. I couldn't possibly have been higher. There was Sherpas up there and Everton mates offering people to go back down. So I was watching it when we were building the game and that, and Alisson had the ball and everyone's coming towards the ball, and we seem to be intentionally leaving the front 3 with their back 3. So I'm trying to make it an individual battle between those 3, and I think in the past when we did that with Sadio, Bobby and Salah, we just won them. They were just impossible to deal with individually. I think the 3 that we played last night, I think Bologna dealt with them better than you'd expect. I think Nunes should be, I'm not sure the centre half he was up against, but I think he needs to get to a point where he's kind of dominating them and he's trapping the ball a little bit better. And I think he attempts 12 passes in the game, completes 4 of them, and he's supposed to be not a target man, but he's got a bit more about that profile than any other player in the front line for me. But even still, it doesn't always stick. I think sometimes you want to stick a little bit more, and I think as link-up play you can get away with as long as you're getting them chances, but we didn't even really get them chances yet. We had 9 shots. That's not much for Liverpool at all last season. I think the average was... I think Liverpool's average last season was just under 21 per match.
Wow.
So we posted 9 last night. We posted 9 on the weekend. So we're not really firing an attack or anything like that. And I think Nunes needs you to fire an attack to be worth playing on the pitch. But he does score his goal, even though it's offside.
It's a nice finish.
Yeah, it's a nice finish, yeah. But
as soon as you went through, it just feels like he's either got a miss or he's offside.
Yeah.
Or he'll fall over or something.
He doesn't. It's very rare that he scores a 1-on-1, either because he misses or it's offside. Like that belter against Bournemouth, fine, even though it's a significantly more difficult goal to score. But a fairly bog standard one, you're watching it going, something's gone wrong, or is about to.
The offside's frustrating. Like, did you see the offside back?
I've not seen it back. No.
He just gets done by the centre half. The centre half just watching us run, and he just realises Nunes is going, stands still. Nunes goes. I think at this level, you would just love for him to just be a little bit more.
What has he got to check it? Do you think?
Just. I think someone needs to put his arm around him and say, "Lad, you're really fast. Like you don't need the head start." But he's so eager to go.
It's eagerness, I think.
Yeah, but he doesn't need it. He doesn't need the head start. He's quicker than anyone. So sometimes when he gets done like that by centre halves who are not, I couldn't even say the fella's name who done him. You know, it's just a bit annoying. I think some fans would want. Well, most fans would want him to sort that element out, just to be a bit more shrewd with your game, but all the potential is there. It's just getting it out of him. Whether that's going to happen at Anfield, I don't know.
What for another day? Midfield, good. I thought Dom was much brighter. Not perfect, but I don't think he's ever going to be the style of player he was, but certainly getting about the pitch a lot more, linking up more, particularly well with Trent and Salah, which I think when they're doing well, that they sort of all do. Obviously, McAllister in the goals, which is brilliant for him. And then, I don't know, Gravenberch, he just turned this into the Ryan Gravenberch show.
Yeah, well, yeah. Because, honestly, I was one of the first people to criticise him when he came to the club.
I love that, when he arrived.
I hated him. I was like
when he turned up.
I was like, you know what, he's got potential, but he's not going to be it for us, and I'm fine, that's it. Like, I'd written him off because I was cynical, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then he has just completely taken this position and made it his own. Like, last night when he spun his man and went past 3 players, you're like, what are you doing? Like,
but the best is on like
level
which
of
time?
skill.
Which one, yeah.
Yeah. Multiple attempts, yeah. But there was like a lot of talk before the game of whether we should be signing a 6 and whether we need to hold a midfielder, and part of me is just like, no, like, I trust him now. I'll leave him there. He is absolutely growing in confidence. He knows what he's capable of, and he's just eager to show us all what he can do. So, yeah, I thought he was really impressive. Dom needed to kind of step up a bit, and Slot had like made that clear in pre-match that he wanted Szoboszlai to step up to the plate. And again, I thought there was some great levels of skill from Szoboszlai last night, and he had a couple of chances, one that he really should have scored. But yeah, I thought he was miles better. And then McAllister again gets a goal, like, wonderful for him and for what that'll do with his confidence. And I mean, I was playing his song last night and then it was doing my head in because it was stuck in my head all night, which is just so catchy. But yeah, like, there was been talk about Liverpool's midfield in seasons gone by and how, like, we never really had many options, and then when players got injured, like, the players coming in off the bench were, like, it was quite difficult. But I think all of them have kind of got a point to prove, because, Curtis Jones has sat on that bench thinking, I'd love to come in and play here, and when Harvey Elliott's fit, he'll do the exact same, and they all need to make sure that they can keep their position in the side. And, for them, it's like, as Dan said, Bologna's midfield was kind of like just if you got through them, you were just away. Like, that was that. And Gravenberch did that a lot last night, and so did Szoboszlai, and I think that was really impressive from us.
Yeah, they use space well, the 3 of them, and they are intelligent, and they use the body as well to find little angles on passes, but also if they see a gap on the pitch, which they were last night, they'll all go into it, and it's a real asset, Dan, that Liverpool have got.
Yeah, they're able, all 3 of them, to get out of small spaces and then play Liverpool into much bigger ones, where you can be dangerous from. Whether that be by, as you said about Gravenberch, being able to kind of roll someone and then carry the ball vertically for 20 yards and play Liverpool away. It might be McAllister just doing a little quick drop of the left shoulder then the right, and he's beating one and then can play a through ball. They've all got different skill sets, but that are really complementary and lead to the same thing, I think, which is moving Liverpool up the pitch fairly quickly. And that's a great combination to have, because it means that even if you're in a position that feels like you're being pressed and you're under pressure from maybe a couple of members of the opposition, that there's actually, you could still be away in 5 seconds with one little shift from the player who's on the ball, and then maybe someone else plays a pass and, Salah's in down the right or whatever it is. The fact that they're all as comfortable on the ball in difficult situations it not only helps Liverpool relieve pressure, but switch the pressure onto the opponent quite quickly.
Yeah, the one supposed sort of error which leads to a shot is a header, and he's trying to sort of play someone in, and I feel a little bit for him because it's hard to pass with your head. That's probably why people don't do it more. Do you know what I mean? It's
easy if you're Virgil, isn't it?
But the reason the goals have lower XG with head than volleys is as hard as it's sort of control, and so he's trying to. If it comes off, if we're away, and I think it's the Gravenberch, it doesn't. He gets the angle of it wrong, and they're in, and it's frustrating at the time, because they have I think it's the one they hit the bar from, that one, and it's frustrating at the time, but generally speaking, I thought his use of the ball was better, but he was just generally more dangerous, I think, Josh, and like I said before, I think when he's at his best, he's linking up with others, and it's just the combination play. This is sort of on the ball. I think he's been largely fine off it, and we saw a little bit more of that last night, I think.
Yeah. I think if you think of what his ceiling looks like, it's seriously high. I think his pressing game is absolutely vital for Liverpool. I think, remember a few years ago when we were speaking about Kante, and we were saying it's like having an extra player. I don't think it's quite that with Szoboszlai, but it's not far off. The ground that he covers and his ability to press multiple players with one sprint is unbelievable. I mean, I'm tired watching him, to be honest. I think his on-ball game can be a bit more, just better decisions, basically a little bit more refined. I think he can, I don't know, I think sometimes his pulse can be a little bit too high from the pressing game, where when he gets the ball, he just panics or rushes it or something like that. But I think when he's on it, he's got everything you need. I need to be unbelievable, to be honest. And I think we forget sometimes. I think he's only 23.
Yeah.
So if Liverpool didn't sign Salah, for example, till he was 25. So if you think of what Szoboszlai looks like when he's at his peak, if you think of Gerrard, when Gerrard peaked, probably about 28, wasn't he? Something like that, 27. Do you reckon?
It's hard to say, really.
Depends which version of him you think was the best one.
Yeah.
But 08, 09, Gerrard was
it's about that,
28, 29.
Yeah, that's probably the best for me, I think. When he's probably 10, do you reckon? 10 version of Gerrard under Benitez.
I like the 0506, but anyway, we're digressing.
Was 0506 right mid Gerrard? I like that one the best as well, I think.
Hold midfield Gerrard was alright as well.
I liked him when he was right back, when he was 18. He was fucking leather with Evertonians.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm doing that Szoboszlai Gerrard comparison again, and I shouldn't be doing that, but I think he's got a high ceiling, basically, what I'm getting at, and I think we need to maybe persist with some of the little imperfections, but I think that stems from how high we value him and what we think he can get to. He's just not doing it all the time, but he's still doing a lot for this team now.
Let us know what your favourite Steven Gerrard is in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. I'd be intrigued. They're all good answers, which is the best part of this game. Just quickly defensively, and I'll just sort of open up to the room. I don't think they were, it was a perfect night for them, but it feels to me that they're really relishing clean sheets. There was a time towards the end where, last sort of few minutes, where a goal for the opposition probably wouldn't even really mattered. Like, they wouldn't have got another one, but you can see them getting blocks and celebrating with each other, and I'm into that. I feel like at the moment, as a unit, that they're taking the job of defending seriously, if that makes sense.
I feel like that's the mindset that the new manager's brought in, is like your level of result starts from keeping your clean sheet. And I think that team spirit needs to bleed right the way through the squad. So if they're all celebrating the fact that they've got blocks and they're putting the graft in, then the forwards are then going to get more chances and go on and score more goals. So I just love to see that. And, it was Alisson's birthday. He shaved his beard off. He's absolutely loving life, and he wants the clean sheets, and he's getting them.
Clean sheets, clean face. Yeah, that's his philosophy.
Yeah. New motto.
Yeah.
So I'm here for it. I think there'll be so many people that say a 2-0 win is not exciting enough, and they want more, and they're constantly looking for more. But I'm absolutely happy with that, and it makes you confident that, you know, we can come up against bigger, better opposition and we'll probably be absolutely fine. So it fills me with confidence. I love a clean sheet.
I thought they looked surprised by what Bologna were doing in that like 20-25 minutes before half time. That really high press where, because you're doing it with like 5 centre forward and then the 4 behind them, that means you can basically man mark the back 4 and the holding midfielder. That's why, for example, Alisson ends up chipping that ball to Szoboszlai rather than just like booming it down the pitch. I thought for 10 or 15 minutes they sort of didn't really know what to do. They were just, they're going to stand right on us, are they? Well, we weren't prepared for that because it didn't seem like they had like a pattern to play out of it. But none of the chances felt like, they really should have scored there. But they've got good players. And Doig hit the woodwork twice, didn't he? He was good for Switzerland in the summer. I really liked Urbanski. I think I'd never heard of him before, but the most slight one that was playing in the orange boots, I thought looked a really good player. Delinga up front for them scored for Toulouse, I think against Liverpool last year. So they had good players. And I think the nature of, again, the format now means that if you're coming up against, you know, there's got to be at least half decent sides to be in the competition if they're the champion of even a smaller nation. You've got less time to do your homework on them, because you used to play 6 matches, but it was 3 teams. So the same information that was relevant the first time would be relevant the second time. You've now, in theory, got more than double the video analysis that you need to be doing and giving them tactical instructions and stuff like that. So it might be that playing every few days that they didn't really do an awful lot, and I would kind of get why, because there's only so much time. But I think certainly as they get a bit later in the competition, and I think it was a bit the case against Nottingham Forest as well, really. I think they didn't really know what to expect from them. I think they just kind of turned up and were focused on their own game. But I think as time goes by and they get a bit more used to what the manager and the coach and staff want, I think they might have to do a little bit more. Well, this is the weird thing that we expect this half-decent opponent to be doing that you are going to have to be prepared for. Because I think for 15-20 minutes it looked like they were really surprised by them. They were like a rip-off Atalanta. Like they were less good at it. Didn't have a player as good as Koopman as like in and around the box to finish things off. But they were still really quick wide. Zero midfield, just wanted to move it forward quickly. Mad press that you don't see very often. And they had a coach that's been to 2 European finals with Fiorentina. So even though we're saying I don't think they were particularly good in the like bottom half in Serie A, you have got to account for all of the minutiae of the strange things that a European team will do against you.
Yeah, it was interesting to me that was it McAllister who did the pre-game press conference, and he basically said to him, what do you know about Bologna? He was like, not a lot. Basically, it was like we've watched no videos whatsoever, and that's
well, you could tell.
Yeah, but whether that's something that changes over time, or whether he's like, listen, there's only so many hours in the day, and I want to concentrate on drilling up everything that I want from you first, and then once we get there we'll start worrying about the opposition. Maybe that's part of an evolution of the team, or maybe Arne Slot just thinks they're all shite, and that's his thing. We'll see. Okay, before we have a break, I wanted to talk a little bit about this tweet from Dan Kennett last night. So Dan said, fan base is in a weird place right now where the nerds are more bullish about the team than the proper football men who are caveating everything. So Josh, you're a nerd.
I was going to say then, does this mean I'm a nerd, does it? Yeah.
Well, we're gonna decide what the other two are.
I've got a problem with him because he said proper football men.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to be a nerd then.
Well, that's fine. I'll be a nerd.
You're certainly a nerd, I would say.
Thanks, mate.
So what does he mean, Danny? What's he saying?
Well, I think I actually agree with him. It's hard to translate what he means, but I agree with him at the same time. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of the performances we've seen so far, we don't feel like outright convincing winners maybe sometimes, and I think in this game I think it looks like it felt as well in the ground like we faced a fair few shots. We come under the cosh a little bit. It doesn't feel like the attack is firing maybe quite as much as previous seasons on the Klopp and like that, but I think if you actually look at the numbers behind it, and I watched the footage back as well last night, and we didn't actually give away anything, you know. Like there was nothing at all where you think he should score that. And I think last season we were giving away honestly 2 one-on-ones with Alisson per game, and we were conceding first all the time. And this season we are giving away nothing. Even in the Forest game, which was horrendous, felt horrendous. But the goal Hudson-Odoi scores is a belter in off the post from outside the box. Ask him to do it again, because he won't. And against who did we face on the week? Wolves. Again, the goal we conceded in that game is an absolute gift from Konate. Outside that, it is another clean sheet game. So I think in these games when Liverpool feels like Liverpool aren't playing that well, in reality we're giving away virtually nothing in any of these games, and it feels like Liverpool's flaw is no worse than conceding one, and the goal that we do concede will probably be something that is not in open play, like maybe a set piece or an individual error from someone like a Konate or something like that. But in terms of like what's sustainable, it feels like what we're doing this season, how we're winning games, is a lot more sustainable than last season. But people were probably higher at this point last season because there was more roller coaster moments towards the end of a game where you get over the line with a last minute winner or something like that, and you feel a bit higher. But this season, I think we're just steadily doing the things that you need to win games.
I mean, the caveats of these proper football men, Dan, I think include we haven't played anyone very good. So, and Arne Slot is saying that. So maybe
I was going to say, does he not understand what he's talking about then? Or
does he count as a proper footballing man?
Well, I sort of like don't like the distinction so much. I feel it implies that like, I don't know, half the people, or probably you wouldn't say that nerds make up half, but I think it implies that like the other group are sort of oafs who just want the ball boomed and headed, like don't understand how the game works. I think he basically means that the people who don't consult numbers when they look back on a game,
when you look at
probably just that.
When you look at the when you look at the XG after the game, I'm always a bit surprised. So maybe this is the kind of thing that Dan's talking about, because as a very much a proper football man, do you know what I mean? I have like posters on my walls, footies in the house. I'm always a little bit surprised afterwards when I'm like, I felt a bit more ropey than that. Then the XG is like 2.5 to half or something, and we've won 2-0.
Exactly.
And then you're like, so I think. Like, the fella behind me was a proper footballing man. Like, I reckon he'd seen Billy Little play, honestly, and he was having kittens with what was going on on the pitch. And then when they give it away from a goal kick, and then we'd have a goal, he was like, they're doing it again, and I was like, of course they are. And so I think there's a little bit of that, and I think because a lot of our problems, like Josh said, are a bit self-inflicted, I think it can feel like it's ropier than actually sort of what it is, really. And if a team have a good 5 minutes against you but you defend it well, that sort of feels alright. But if you have a ropey 5 where you're just sort of giving it to them and then they're blasting shots over the bar, I think it makes everyone a bit twitchier. So I think we're a bit I think there's this feeling that we're going to start conceding goals soon because we're making mistakes, whereas actually when you look at the quality of chances from these mistakes, they're not actually that high.
I get it to an extent, but is that not just like the emotion of being involved in a game and in the ground and everything? You do feel naturally more touchy than...
no emotion, though, Dan. Emotionless robots.
But I think anyone who sits like is at a game, you never just watch it cold, do you? You always get just like a sense of what the like pressure feels like, even if the more conscious part of you might be able to think, well, that actually wasn't a very good chance, and you might know that in the moment. But you're talking to the people around you, and the crowd has an input and all that kind of thing. I do think that we're a naturally very tetchy and quite irritable crowd, really. I was irritated when they were playing Nottingham Forest, and just from the first whistle it felt like a significant proportion of the crowd was on their backs over every small error. Someone would give the ball away, but trying the right pass, and I think as long as you're trying the right thing, you can't make everything perfect. And people were kicking off on them, and it's like, well, I'm not sure that's really going to help them do it better next time. But I think we're like that, and I think also, like, especially when you've been really good for many years, which is the case now, I think people are a bit less patient naturally with the idea of either changing a way of playing or the way of playing having a level of flaw in it. And if you're going to try and control the ball all the time like Liverpool are, and sometimes build up slowly from the back, a flaw in inverted commas in that system is, well, if someone gives it away, probably immediately feels quite dangerous because you've given it away high up the pitch to an opponent that could do something. So I think that's just like natural adjustment, but also just the natural like fibre of being part of a big emotional crowd. So I don't think it's a hugely big deal. People will get like a bit more used to it over time, but I think that would be the same in pretty much any ground with like that way of playing and with the very nature of being a good team.
I also think that with a new manager, are people just going to be like that anyway? Do you know what I mean? Like, people are constantly scrutinising everything a new manager does because people are so keen to try and compare it to what Klopp was like and what we watched during Klopp, and some people can't deal with change. So when there's a new manager, they're a bit like, whoa, one, this feels slower, it doesn't feel anywhere near as like attacking, but also like they read into things a lot more than just when you've had the same manager for 9 seasons.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it is, I think if you was to get say you was to get the entire COP from yesterday and you was to line them all up and you was to ask each individual one which Liverpool team is better this season or last season, I think a ton would say last season.
I agree, yeah.
I disagree. I think this team is better.
Same.
I think this team is far more measured, far more likely to win a league. And I think that's maybe what Dan's getting at, as in, like, most people would probably prefer last season's iteration of Liverpool. But last season was a lot more... I mean, you got your value for money when it comes to a ticket. But it was just... the sustainable elements of it for me was probably not there, and what eventually happened, people might put down to injuries or whatever, but the bottom line is eventually Liverpool stopped finishing the chances. But what the finishing the chances was always doing throughout the season was getting the defence out of jail, because we kept conceding first every week. We kept giving away big chances, and it was just never going to persist, and it nearly did. You know, it persisted for like 32 games out of 38, but then eventually just... You know, we got stung in the end.
Okay. Thanks a lot for that. That was part one. But now you're going to hear me speak to Paul Cuttle, who's from Stadium Operations at Liverpool FC. We did this last week, which was before they announced 2/3 of the concerts, which they've managed to do in, honestly, just a week since I went to speak to him. So, yeah, nice one for that. But they did say you might want to get this out here sooner rather than later. But we had Ian Salmon to go in on Monday, and he's obviously more important than Bruce Springsteen. So we put Ian Salmon out on Monday. So this is before Billy Joel and before Bruce Springsteen was announced, although you might hear something at the end which gives an indication that I'd had a bit of a tip-off on Bruce, not from Paul. He keeps his cards very close to his chest. But listen out to my all sorts of clue on that. But yeah, this is me speaking to Paul, and then we're back in the room. It is John Givens from the Anfield Wrap, and we're at Anfield. We're actually at Anfield on a match day, so if you hear some noises in the background, the stadium tour's going on, they're getting the lawn ready for the players tonight, so if you do hear a little bit of that, that is what that is. But we're not here to talk about football, we're here to talk about other things that go on, and in particular the concerts. And to join me, I have Paul Cuttle, who is Vice President of Stadium Operations here at Anfield.
Hello, nice to see you.
It's a busy day for you, Paul, so I appreciate your time.
No problem at all. No, pleasure.
But I do want to celebrate these concerts because we've had recent stories come out about the economic impact of them, and I know it's much wider than that, of course. But first of all, for the concerts, it feels like it's a staple of our year now. We all look forward to seeing who's coming to play. You know, it feels like sort of part of the Liverpool calendar, not just Liverpool FC, but the city. But it is still a relatively new thing. So, you know, you've been here a long time. You're just telling me 20, 25 years here at Liverpool. So, thinking back, if you could just tell us about the decision to put them on, maybe why you didn't do them in the past, maybe why you decided to start putting them on, and how many people are involved, and what factors are involved in a decision like that?
Yeah, sure. Look, doing a concert, I genuinely do enjoy doing a concert. I think it just brings something a little bit different and brings Anfield to life to a whole new group of people as well who don't normally come to football games. So it was a conscious decision from ownership to start using the stadium as a multi-purpose venue going forward and not just football. So from 2015, we obviously increased the stand of the stadium from 45,000 to now we're up to 61,000 with the Anfield Road stand as well. So there's been a significant shift in terms of the amount of people we can do. So the decision was always to do major events, and we're incredibly proud that, you know, with the facility that we have now, that we're able to attract these major artists like we did last year with Taylor Swift, and perhaps not just focused on Taylor, but that was probably one of the biggest ones we've done, and a massive artist. And so it's a real achievement. We've done other things with the hybrid carpet pitch as well. So we now, it gives us a shorter growing time and an installation time for the pitch. That means we've been able to do more, and our focus is really to try and drive to get to 6 major events in that closed season, and to continue to attract the major artists that we do and have done in the past.
Yeah, it's a real testament to yourselves, but also I know many others, the artists you have attracted here. You know, I came to Taylor Swift last season. I went to the Rolling Stones. You know, and the huge international acts that otherwise Liverpool won't get because we haven't got the size of venue aside from this. How much work is it to attract those artists? Because I mean, Taylor Swift could go wherever she wants, and so presumably, you know, it's a much wider thing than Liverpool Football Club. It's a lot of people across the city, isn't it, who come together to make sure that everything is in place for these artists to come in and entertain everyone. Yeah, sure. So it's a huge piece of work, I'm not going to lie, to do this, and we have people working permanently on this now because it is such a big job, and there's people planning now for Dua Lipa, you know, because obviously we've announced that recently, which yes, there's a lot of work that goes on, and that cuts across everything at Anfield, from stewarding to safety to security to catering to maintenance. Everybody has to be fully involved in planning these events, and as you say, it's not just about Anfield as well, it's those wider stakeholders as well around the city, and you know, it happens inside the stadium, but what goes on around the outskirts of it, we need to involve as many people as we possibly can in doing that. So yeah, it's a huge effort, but one that's really rewarding, and we get some amazing feedback as well. Yeah. You know, last year, as you say, during Taylor Swift, there's 150,000 people come through the turnstiles, and they're new people. You know, they've never been to Anfield before. Well, not never, but a lot of people won't have been to Anfield. You have obviously been to Anfield before, but so we need to welcome them in the right way, and I think that's not just about when they get into Anfield, but that's from a city perspective as well. And the feedback we get from promoters, and we've done most of the major promoters now have come to Anfield, and have been really, really positive. I mean, our stadium isn't necessarily the best equipped stadium in the country for doing events like this, but people want to come here. Yeah. And I think that's because it's Liverpool City. I think it's because it's Anfield. Let's not forget we are Anfield. Yeah. And also I genuinely believe that what we do as a group, and that is a collective, as you say, not just at Anfield but wider, we put on an amazing show. You know, and I think people do obviously want to come back because we're seeing that now for next year. Yeah, I mean, the artists are really buzzed off it. I know Elton John in particular. I mean, he's a football man, Elton, isn't it? So if he to come and play here, he's like the rest of us. We're good enough to play as a footballer, but he's had a sort of another wave. So it's big for him. But I think lots of them have just enjoyed coming to this place, haven't they? And that's a massive thing. But for the city, it's huge. I mentioned before the economic impact, and listen, that is important. You know, it helps. You know, in terms of jobs, it helps in terms of the economic well-being of the city, but it's sort of more than that. It's civic pride, isn't it? I was so pleased again with Taylor Swift, how many people came to the city, and they're taking pictures all around, and they're going, you know, around the world. I thought Visit Liverpool did a fantastic job of all those exhibitions sort of around the city. So Liverpool is being showcased, and Anfield is being showcased in the best possible way, as well as the huge economic impact of all these people coming to the city, spending the money in bars and restaurants and just enjoying it and hopefully coming back. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean, we've done a recent study, and since we started concerts, have brought around 31 million into the local economy, into the Liverpool City region, which I think is fantastic. I think, as you mentioned, the employment opportunities, we employ an average, well, over 1,400 people for each of those concerts. Wow. You know, 85% I think of them are from the Liverpool area, 55 are under 30, so there's definitely a younger people who actually come to work. So it has a huge impact, I think, on you know, both from a financial perspective, but it also, we just mentioned prior to this that, you know, it kind of provides people with work during those summer months as well, which they didn't necessarily have before because the football season ended and then the football season starts. So I think there is a huge positive impact, and people, and I generally, including myself, do enjoy doing them. You know, as we said at the start, they're hard work, it takes a lot of effort, but I think people do enjoy doing them, and there is a massive sense of pride that these people are coming to Anfield and playing that. And when you see people like Taylor or Elton John or Rolling Stones on a stage with the audience forward, big smiles on their face, it does give you that feeling that it's quite a special thing to be part of, which is great for everyone. Yeah, so the economic impacts for the whole city, but particularly for the businesses around here. I know I speak to a lot of them, and you know, we record in the bars, you know, around here after games, and they say the summer for them takes a real dip. So the concerts, you know, is a lifeline for them, keeps them going in the summer. I never thought I'd see cocktails on sale in the Glenbook, but we did. Yeah, absolutely. But that's, you know, they sort of they're embracing it like we've all said here, and that must be nice for you to think, well, actually, because I know you try and be the best neighbours possible, and so for the businesses around here, the fact that they're getting a boost, you know, in those slightly more fallow summer months is another tick.
Yeah, to bring that amount of people into the area, I think it's going to obviously have a positive impact on the local economy and to the businesses that are situated in and around Anfield, which I think is a really good thing. We also are acutely aware, as we should be, that we need to be respectful of our neighbours and the local community as well. And we do work closely with them in terms of when the acts are on and what the impact is, and we try to be as work as closely as we can as possible to make sure that it impacts them as little as possible throughout that window.
So it's Dua Lipa this summer. I've got my tickets already. I'm up there, sort of, looking forward to that. Again, taking a couple of people who've never been to Anfield before. I can't get my wife in for the footy game, but she is coming to sort of Dua Lipa. and so that sort of is something, and a couple of others coming with us as well. But you mentioned there you've got the opportunities for 6 nights there, sort of that's 2 of them. So I know you're not going to give too much away, but in terms of timescales on announcements, can you be any sort of clearer on when we might hear some of the other acts who are coming?
Yeah, so as you say, we've got Dua Lipa now for 2 nights, which we're really pleased about. But yeah, there will be some more coming soon, shall we say. So I'm sorry, I'd love to be able to tell you who, but it is going to be soon. There will be some more, and we're absolutely confident that we'll get, we should get near to those 6 events for next year.
No, fantastic. Well, wait and see on that one. I did try for you. I'm sorry, but I'm sure whoever it is will be absolutely boss. Thanks so much.
Okay, my pleasure.
Yeah, may continue. Long may continue, and if people are waiting for the sort of the big acts to come here, then who knows in the future what it might bring.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks out to Paul and Liverpool for opening up Anfield for me to speak to him. Watch it on video if you enjoyed this as audio. It's great, looks brilliant. Not me, Anfield, brilliant on match day always. In terms of the group, then I just want to do the Champions League quickly. Then very briefly we'll talk about Palace. There's absolutely loads previewing Palace on the Anfield app, so I don't want to sort of go into that too much, especially as it feels like we've just played last night when we were recording. But in terms of where it leaves us in the group, Dan, it feels like it leaves us in a really strong position. It has to be said, you mentioned before, only 7 teams have got 6 points. There's some decent teams there who've dropped points already. Real Madrid have got beat. And so, it does feel like for the ones who are on 6, they'll be feeling, pretty good about themselves with, for Liverpool, some toughish games coming up, obviously.
Yeah, and I think to finish in the top 24 will take maybe 9 or 10 points, so they're already a majority of the way to that. And then to finish in the top 8 will be something like 15 or 16. So with 6 games remaining, they're in a really strong position, especially, you said Real Madrid have dropped points, but so have Manchester City, so have Bayern Munich. Not every, I think Arsenal, did they draw in Atalanta as well? Did they win? Okay. Yeah. So not everyone has got as impressive a record so far. Also, not everyone is as some of these teams have played a higher seed. So PSG, for example, have dropped a point because they played someone from pot 1. Liverpool haven't played a pot 1 opponent yet. But that means that when Liverpool do come to play their pot 1 opponents, or do come to go away to Girona or something in December, when they're at the end of a really difficult run of like 12 very important matches, then you can maybe afford to not win, and it'll just be all right. And I also think that the format is working for some of the smaller teams so far. Like second in the 36-team league is Stade Brest, who, if this were a previously normal Champions League season, they would have been the 4th seed, so they would have played nobody at their own level. They've played Sturm Graz and Salzburg so far, so I think Graz are pot 4 and Salzburg are pot 3, and they've won them both. So they've now, if I'm saying that 9 or 10 points is going to get you through, they've got a really good chance, by no means guaranteed, because everyone they're going to play now is going to be tougher. But they've got a really good chance, and I think it gives the fact that you get to play against sides of your own level, in inverted commas, like it means that you get the sort of big ticket money making Liverpool versus Real Madrid or Man City versus PSG or whatever it may be. But you also get the sides that are much lower down the coefficient table playing against each other, and it just feels like it makes everything that bit more valid, really, and a bit more lively. For now, the table doesn't make a huge lot of difference. Whoever is 35th, 36th at the minute could very easily just win a lot of games and go through even in the top 8 before the end. But I think certainly by the time you get to the 5th or 6th game, it will feel like it's telling a story much more than what the old groups did, and you'll have you'll be able to ascertain a lot more who's decent, who's not. And I do just like the fact that we're playing against 7 different teams. I think is interesting. You got to find some interesting stuff out about Bologna last night, and you get to do it again with the next one, and so on and so forth. So I think it's working pretty well so far.
It's funny because a lot was made of Celtic's really bad defeat, Grace, and yeah, listen, getting beat 7-1's never brilliant, but they won the first game and they won it really well, and so that's sort of been forgotten really. It's like, oh, Celtic are a joke in Europe, and I'm like, well, they won the first Champions League game, but to go to Dan's point, that sort of only happens because you're playing more teams, and quite often in the old group format, the team who'd be in pot 4, if you had 3 good teams sort of ahead of them, you just get battered by everyone, and then your coefficient doesn't get any better, and then you win your league the next year or that year, and then you're back in the same position, and then you're getting sort of whacked. Whereas, like, yeah, listen, Celtic fans would have enjoyed this week, and it's no fun watching the team sort of get battered, but they have sort of won a game, and that'll be the case for a lot of the ones. The team that got beat 9-2 drew last night, and so you're getting games against the teams who sort of are sort of similar. And it seems for those teams as well as us, I agree, like just a more sort of positive footballing experience.
Yeah, but also, like, I think so many teams who are in, say, pot 4 are way more up for it because they know that they've got way more chances to actually perform rather than just the 3 teams that are in their group. Like, if you go into a group and inevitably you're probably going to lose all of your matches and sit bottom, then you're like, oh, well, we'll give it a go, but the likelihood is we're not going to do very well. Whereas, like, look at Aston Villa. Like, last night, they were well up for it. That goal was a screamer. That John Duran goal was
what's Manuel Neuer doing though?
He's very high.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, like, I think, and Dan mentioned Brest, who are a club that have been spoken about quite a lot in the last few weeks since the Champions League started, and they might not have a chance come another 3 games time. But right now, if you're them, you're thinking, oh, look, like, we're in this league with the best teams in the world, and we are up there, and that'll give them some sort of confidence. But for us, I like the idea of playing different teams. I was sceptical to start with because of the number of fixtures. I thought, oh, can we really be dealing with playing all of these games?
Yeah.
Like, do we really want that? But you know what? I think we've played well so far. Yeah, all right, we've not come across like a pot 1 team, but we've played well, and like all you can ask is that we're winning games, and that's what we're doing. So, the new system I quite like because it gives fans the chance to go all over the world and see different sides, and playing the same teams. But then again, it's probably bad for an analyst point of view because you've got a different team to study every week, and sometimes 2 different teams to study every week. So we've added to their workload, but it's fun for the fans.
What anyone think of the data analysis? Fair play. You enjoyed it? I'm trying to be sort of open-minded and see. I'm not mad on the extra games generally, but I'm trying to sort of wait and see. And I think people have been a bit too quick to rush and judge. And so we're saying, there's too many, teams. It's like it's the same number of teams. They've just sort of, jigged it about really, and I'm sort of waiting to see. But last night I could, me and Dan drove back together, and we had sort of 5 Live on, and you're listening to some of the scores and some of the results and the nights, and even on the radio they were like, oh, what does this mean for, and it's like, Bayern Munich are 14th now, do you know what I mean? It was all starting to feel a lot more real and alive when we were listening to it on the radio. Yeah,
I'm into it. I think it's interesting. I think generally the approach from just your typical supporter is probably just, if it's not broke, don't fix it type vibe. But I think it did need an element of rejuvenation in there, and I think what you've done is a nice change. I agree with everything that's been said. I think facing so many different teams is interesting. I think not having to face the same team twice, like when you're facing, like, I don't want to be disrespectful to any teams, but when you're facing like a pot 4 team twice, and then in consecutive match weeks,
it's hard to get excited about the Anfield game when you've just battered them away.
Exactly, yeah. Like when you're beating Besiktas 8-0 and then you face them again in 2 weeks. It's just, come on, mate, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, it feels now as well, like if Villa go and beat Bayern Munich and Lille go and beat Real Madrid, it now feels like it actually matters to us, as opposed to if they're in just a completely different group. Well, it's none of our business then, is it, until we get to the knockout stages. Obviously they can go out in a different group, it matters in that sense, but it feels like now that we're in like an entire league, every result has some kind of meaning to Liverpool. So yeah, I mean, it's a new format. I think it's good. enjoying it so far, yeah.
You'll never lose the hammerings. I've seen people complaining about there's been some really one-sided games, but like the lack of equity in European football just means that whatever you did, like if it was still the group stage, they'd still be getting beat 9-2 or 7-1 or 6 or whatever it is. They'd just probably have less chance to rectify it. The only way to get rid of really one-sided games would be if you were to say, well, let's only have 12 teams in it and get rid of the national champions from everyone that's not the top 6 leagues or something like that. So those games will still exist, but what you might not notice because you're not paying attention is that in 2 match days time those 2 teams that got battered are actually going to play each other, and then they've got a chance to win at least, whereas if they were just playing teams definitely better than them before, then you're playing 6 matches and you're going on with 2 points max.
All agree. Okay, Crystal Palace, very quickly, it's the last game of this run. Grace, obviously to say, but it'd be great to win.
I think we will. Like, I am confident. I think you can't go into these games and think, you know, like, what are Palace going to do? Palace got beat by Everton. Like, awful for them, but great for us.
You need to touch wood now, you know.
Some in the
middle. No, I think, you know, Palace under Hodgson were a different team to the Palace that we see this season, but again, I still think we are a much better side than them. I think Slot will go full strength. Last game before the international break, we want a win. I think we'll win 2-0 again.
Do you any concerns about the 12:30 element, Josh?
Yeah, don't like it. I never liked the 12:30 games, and it is a way, isn't it? Yeah. So that's the.
It'll affect the atmosphere. The atmosphere is decent to Palace, and so the other thing is, I think they'd be more up for if it was 5:30.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe there's an element of getting the game won early and killing the crowd immediately. And I think when we beat them 7-0, was that an early game as well? I think it was.
Felt early, yeah.
I think it was. So I don't know. We can work against you. They can work for you. But I think the fact that we've just played, Wednesday night, and we've got an early game on Saturday is not ideal. And Slot did go pretty much full strength. Seems to just go full strength every week forever. So it feels like eventually he might sting us, but it'll be interesting to see if he just does it again for an early game, in London against a team that has historically caused big teams problems. So hopefully it's just get one more out the way and then reassess when we come back after the international break against harder teams basically. But if we can get one more win and get out of there and go into the international break with a lead in the Premier League, that'd be nice. But not sure.
Well, where are you with it, Dan? Do you think it's a positive, negative 12:30, or does it not really matter? Liverpool just need to go about the business.
Yeah, I don't hugely care either way about the time. I think in general, from my own point of view, I quite like 12:30 because it's done and then you've still got a weekend. So I don't really mind them from my point of view. They're really weird. They were the best team in Europe for 6 weeks in the spring. Turning down, by the sounds of it, 25-30 million quid for the manager from Bayern when they were looking at him, and quite understandably so. They looked amazing. And then they've been absolutely rubbish since the season began. I've seen them play a few times. They've looked, half decent in patches. They did all right against Man United. They actually played well on the opening day against Brentford, but just kind of got done and lost the game. But then they've got 2 points after playing quite a few, and I'm not sure how long that can really carry on before, despite how clearly good they were last season, they start to think, well, you can't sell an entire squad, but you can sack a manager and hire someone else. So they need to change things really quickly.
Yeah.
It's not unreasonable to think that there's not a huge amount of games, if you're not playing European football anyway, in between these international breaks. If they were to get to like the November one and haven't won a game yet, then that's really awful, and they might feel like they need to make a change. So as much as it's obviously a big game for Liverpool, last one before the break, and trying to stay top of the league, it's enormous for them. So I take the point about the atmosphere might be like a little bit tempered. People have been out for less long and what have you, but they've got to be bang up for it from the start. I would expect them, even regardless of the kick-off time, to just to start quickly and to try and get themselves on the front foot, because I don't think their way of playing or the position that they're in lends itself yourself to, let Liverpool have the ball for half an hour, try and defend deep, don't give them much in the final third. I think they have to try and be in the ascendancy for a bit, which might give Liverpool some space. I think they don't look like they're adjusted to, the shape is similar to last season but a little bit different. They're like a little bit lighter in midfield than what they would have been before. I don't think they're quite adjusted to that. I would hope that between particularly Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai, if they play again, which I think we would all expect, that they're able to sort of make the middle of the pitch quick and get Liverpool going quickly.
I think an underperforming team could be a little bit dangerous in terms of, I guess it's why they're underperforming, Grace, and I wonder whether what it is. And one thing it could be is that last season, obviously, they're getting a lot of credit for how they're playing and they're looking really good. They're like, that's one of the best teams in Europe in terms of how they're playing, but what happens when smaller teams, if you like, sort of play like that, is that people go, oh, that's good, and then take players. And so Elise goes, and someone else has moved on as well.
Joachim Andersen, I think that's the bigger one.
Yeah, and so the two of them sort of end up moving on. But I think sometimes the others are like, well, what about me? Do you know what I mean? And so, like, I think there's a little bit of a, obviously, I think Gay probably expected to move.
Yeah.
40 was going to go, to Newcastle. I'm sure earn more money and things like that. He plays for England, and then suddenly he's sort of back at Palace going, hang on, I sort of mentally moved on from this. I don't think that's really happened in the same way with Adam Morton, but he was one who was linked away, including sort of Liverpool. Eze's one where he's probably thinking like, well, why am I still here?
I think he'll be gone soon. I
do, but I don't think he does. Yeah. I think that's been turned into a bit of an issue for Palace, I think. But all these players will be like, well, I tell you what, it might help. Play really well against Liverpool, and that's what sort of concerns me a little bit. Is there someone who might have looked a little bit like they've been struggling for motivation suddenly go like, yeah, play well against Liverpool. If it doesn't get me moved there, like, more people are watching. That's what always concerns me about these.
It's complacency, isn't it? It's like when we went to Sheffield United last season and we thought we've got this absolutely beat, and then actually it was a harder game than what we all thought. And that has been my worry with Liverpool for seasons, like so many seasons, is that we turn up and we think we've got this one, and actually it becomes more of a difficult task than what we first thought. I still think I don't rate Palace this season, so I am still quite confident, but I think you can never go in underprepared, because if they chuck everything at it and they desperately need a win, then we could be in a position where we're like, we weren't expecting this. So the thing with Palace for me is that, Elise, Mateta, Eze was some threat last season, and they played really well together, and you take a piece of that jigsaw out and then you're left with a weakened side, and they don't seem to know what to do at the moment. I think if I was them, I would look to change a manager sooner rather than later before it all goes downhill. But they don't want Roy Hodgson back, so...
Well, maybe they do. Who knows? Okay, I think the team's the team. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't just go Jota for Nunes and pick them again, like Josh said before. He's a man of keeping it going and likes very few changes, so I think that'll be the only one. But listen, there'll be loads more looking ahead to Crystal Palace on the Anfield app, so download that. If you haven't already, do subscribe. You've got pretty much warm up with Ian Ryan. You'll have the team talk tomorrow straight after the press conference with Josh. You'll have press conference extra with Andy Heaton, who's also producing, so it's very much in my mind that show sort of right now, so loads looking ahead to the game, and then obviously straight after the game as well you'll have a post-match reaction to hopefully what Grace has called to be a comfortable nice win to keep Liverpool top of the league going into that international break. And she's touched wood, so don't worry. Thanks a lot to everyone who's joined us on this, obviously to Paul for doing that middle section with us, and Liverpool for facilitating that, to Dan, to Grace, to Josh, to Andy for producing on audio, and Ash on video, and you guys for enjoying it, and obviously to Greek King Sport for partnering with us. Up to Reds.